There's a big difference I found out from being a good shot and be able to make somebody else a good shot.
You guys don't make SEALs, you find them.
Yeah. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
Because if there's quit in there, they're going digging. They're going to find it.
And the programs you put in at BUD/S, which is where SEAL candidates go, has trained, what I'm told, over 4,000 SEAL candidates that went through your program.
Yeah, my last 3 years active, I was the training officer for land warfare. And then when I retired, rolled over as a contract BUD/S instructor. I wanted to make sure that these guys could shoot and that we get enough of them out there so when they finally come around to be instructors again, their fundamentals were clean. And you get the right guy who wants to learn, who wants to be able to teach and hand that down to the next generation and make them better. For a long time, I was concentrating on making SEALs better, and now I want to be concentrating on making everybody better.
Welcome to another episode of the Resilient Show. We're not in studio. We're at actually one of our other homes, which is the headquarters for Smith Wesson, which is now in Maryville, not Marysville.
Oh, yeah.
They don't like that here.
And it is not even Maryville, it's Maryville.
Maryville.
Yep.
We're in Maryville, Tennessee.
Pronounce it right.
At the Smith Wesson headquarters. And we're here for a couple of things. One is, I'm a brand ambassador for Smith Wesson. As you guys know, they are sponsor and partner for the Resilient Show. But we're also here for the opening of the Smith Wesson Academy, which is going to be headed up by Mark. I butcher your name every time, but Coach Mark Cochiolo.
Cochiolo, yeah, you got it.
Yeah, Mark
sounds
Cochiolo.
just like it's spelled.
And if you guys don't know who Mark is, he's one of the most phenomenal instructors in firearms. And when Mark Smith and Kyle Tingal, the CEO and vice president, told me that you were coming aboard to teach, my first reaction was you could not have found a better person. Not saying that because you're across the table from me. I truly don't believe that Smith & Wesson could have found a better person to head up the academy. So
thanks for that.
Congrats to Smith & Wesson and everybody that's going to be a beneficiary of you. I mean,
well, that's what I'm here to do, man. Just teach people to shoot. I want people to be able to exercise their Second Amendment right, and do it effectively with the best tools. And here I'm in Smith & Wesson. They hired me, and I'm now working for them, so I'm going to sell their stuff, but I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't believe in the product.
Yeah, and the people, right? One of the things I love about being an ambassador for Smith & Wesson is not just the products, because I got my first Smith & Wesson when I was 6 years old, so I love the products, but the people, like we're sitting over here with Dave and Kyle and Mark Smith, these are incredible people to get to work with and believe in the company.
Where the rubber meets the road is like, you have a quality product that, is way more ergonomic than, some of the other offerings out there and is just as reliable. Then, why not? And at a decent price. So you're not paying, Gucci prices for this stuff.
Right, and there's a lot of Gucci guns out there right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And those are the first ones. I mean, they like to fail in the real world. Yeah. On the range, when you're running them wet and, it's like, oh yeah, great, this thing runs great. And, competitors use them. But a competition gun is not necessarily what you want to be carrying to save your life. And that's the focus. I'm not worried about competition. My whole shtick here is self-defense. Everything's defensive carbine, defensive pistol. We're going to do a rifle fundamentals course, which is just, teaching how to build your body positions and, but you're talking out to 300 yards. That's not defensive.
Right.
Okay. I mean, if you want to go hunting after that and be able to, you got to apply the fundamentals, right? In order to harvest your animal. If you want to do long range, just target shooting, same thing. And if you're a sniper, then you have to start there at the fundamentals anyway.
Yes.
Right. And then you build from there. I'm not worried about building from there. There's plenty of other places you can go to learn, more advanced techniques and go to 1,000 yards and out. But for here, I want to give a good, strong base to everybody who comes out here.
Well, Smith & Wesson's, motto is empowering Americans. And this is something when I first came on with them, I was like, pushing and a big advocate for this academy because empowering Americans isn't just selling them good firearms; it's teaching them how to responsibly use them. And when I say like I couldn't think of a better person, so Coach has been with NSW almost 30 years at NSW.
Military and civilian. It's been, let's see, if I left there in 2023, and it was about 36 years.
Ish on the upper end.
Yeah, between active duty and now being a contract BUD/S instructor.
So NSW is Naval Special Warfare. The SEAL teams, you've been at several SEAL teams to include Naval Special Warfare Development Group, which is the premier Tier 1 unit, I believe, in the world.
I believe that too.
I believe that too.
Yeah, there might be some people that disagree.
My buddies
you know.
over the unit always disagree with me, but I believe is that Dev Group is the premier tier 1 unit in the world. You spent 8 years there as an assaulter, and then you went over to BUDS and taught. And the programs you put in at BUDS, Basic Underwater Demolition School, which is where SEAL candidates go, has trained, what I'm told, over 4,000 SEAL candidates that went through your program.
Yeah, over the 16 years I was there, I was my last 3 years active. I was the training officer for land warfare. And then when I retired, rolled over as a contract BUDS instructor, and then I was a decent shot. I was pretty good, but there's a big difference I found out from being a good shot and be able to make somebody else a good shot.
Yeah.
So that first year of training students at BUDS was it was hard, but doing the hard thing, actually caring about the product, and it gave me a specific focus. So hats off to those guys, because they gave us a lot of leeway to experiment. Yeah. We went to a lot of shooting schools, and we brought little nuggets from there. I watch a lot of gun tube, and watch other instructors, and I'm like, that's a good thing, or oh man, that yeah. But if you don't like something, don't adopt it. If you do like something, we'll give it a try. And so we tried a bunch of stuff, and if it worked, we kept it. If it didn't, we let it go.
Was there something super special about teaching at I'm a lifelong martial artist, and I teach jiu-jitsu, and I'm teaching guys to be my future teammate, my future training partner. And there's a lot of connection to that, because I want to teach someone that's going to be able to be good for me later. But it's something different when you're teaching in a soft community, because the soft communities, special operations forces, for those that name soft, it's a small community, and you're training people that you may deploy with later, or your friends may deploy with later. So there's just this tremendous amount of responsibility to do it right.
Yeah, and once I was retired and a contractor, well, I wasn't looking for a teammate anymore, but I was looking for a legacy. I wanted to make sure that these guys could shoot, and that we'd get enough of them out there so when they finally come around to be instructors again, their fundamentals were clean, and you get the right guy who wants to learn, who wants to be able to teach and hand that down to the next generation and make them better. I tell guys, I'm not here to make you as good a shot as I am. I'm here to make you much better, because I was not taught in BUDS. I was shown, and then you had to kind of figure it out on your own. And so in a platoon, you're like, oh yeah, this guy can shoot, and this guy, just give him the machine gun, But it's not like that anymore. We set it up so it's like, no, you will be here on this day, and you will do this, and every day builds on the day before. So in 2 weeks, we take a guy who's never shot a handgun before, and have him shooting, moving, and communicating with 2 weapon systems, being able to transition, decide and transition to his sidearm if your primary went down, and be aware of it. Couldn't quite get enough reps in to make it completely automatic, but you can see guys really blossoming. Really getting better. And most of what we put in place is still there. They're still using the techniques that me and Gordon Evans, who was the other former SEAL, that he's a distinguished rifles, distinguished pistol, Navy. He's really good, and he taught me a lot about how to teach. Yeah. And his demeanor and everything, nice and mellow. You don't yell at anybody. It's so easy to get into that BUDS instructor mentality, but I had guys for that. Right. The guys that were looking for a teammate. Yeah, those guys, we taught them how to teach, but they were the ones that became the heavy. I didn't want, when I stepped up to you on the line, I didn't want you thinking, oh, he's here to screw me. He's, here, oh crap. It's, I want him to think, oh, it's Coach. He's here to help me. And, that's what I was there for, to make them better. Yeah.
So you're a combat veteran as well. As an instructor at BUDS, was there things that you had experienced in combat that put a burden on you to do that job well, because of things you saw in combat or performances you've seen in combat that made you?
Honestly, it was the other way around, because I wanted these guys to I knew where they were going. Right. When you teach a civilian, it's like, okay, you might have to use this, but you probably won't. Because most people don't get in gunfights. Go figure, right? Which is good. It's good that gunfights are rare.
Right.
They don't seem very rare, because you get 24-hour news cycle. But, the guys I was training, we had a short amount of time to give them their good fundamental skills to go forward. They're going to get a lot more training after us, but if you don't have good fundamentals, then all the drills in the world ain't going to help you.
Right.
So we want to make sure that they were good to go, and everything that we did had to work. And I've basically taken the BUDS curriculum that Gordy and I wrote for BUDS and chopped it up into small, digestible chunks.
Yeah.
Everybody says they want to train like a Navy SEAL, but they don't really mean it. It's not an easy life. But it's good if it's for you.
Sure.
And it's not for everybody.
Well, you made a statement before I heard it that you guys don't make SEALs, you find them.
Yeah, I truly believe that.
Yeah.
Because if there's quit in there, they're going digging. They're going to find it, right?
Yeah.
So if you have it in you, if you have the X factor is grit. If you can push through things and be uncomfortable, wet, sandy, that's uncomfortable. Sleep deprived, cold. That's. You think, oh, San Diego, beaches, sun. Oh no, it's not the coldest I've ever been in my life, but it to that point it was.
Yeah, the Pacific Ocean will.
It'll suck it right out of you. Yeah,
good in you. Yeah, you took all this experience and you transitioned over to the civilian world. You've done a lot of teaching in civilians. What was it like switching over from?
Well, you can't swear at them, as much.
You can.
You get a little bit here and there. So the biggest difference, you got military, you've got motivated guys. In my experience, the BUDS candidates are ultra motivated. They really want to learn this stuff, and they all have the same equipment. Okay, so that just makes it a lot easier. Plus, you can apply pain. Pain is the best teacher. You can tell a kid, "Hey, don't touch the hot stove," over and over again. All he has to do is touch it once, and he's like, "Ooh," and he'll never touch it again, right? So we had application of punishment for not performing or not being, it wasn't hazing. It was like, okay, you don't want to do this? I have to make this matter to you in the moment because no one's shooting back at you right now. So you're like, oh yeah, I can just game this. No, you can't. You're going to do it the way I tell you to, and there's a reason. You never hear me say, because that's the way it's done or because that's the way we do it. There's always a reason behind everything that we do. Right. So civilians just have to, like I said, you can't get them wet and sandy. They don't like that, but you can just gently correct them. And the expectation is the other thing. I expect you to get as good as you can get. I'm meeting you at your level and making you better. I'm not thinking, oh, you should be up here and then teach you to a higher level where you're at than where you are. I want to prepare these guys to be able to defend themselves and their loved ones. I mean, that's what we're about here. That's what my teaching is all about. That you want. If your fundamentals are good, great. You can go target shooting, competition, hunting, all that. But you start with the fundamentals, and then we'll develop the mindset. We'll expand into other things with situational awareness and all these things that if these days. If you get in a gunfight, you made some mistakes already. All right. If you're already in that fight, you let the guy too close. Mm-hmm. Okay. You weren't aware of what you were doing. You're on your phone doing this rather than just bring the phone up here, and then you can talk and look around and predators see that kind of behavior and they move on. They're not looking for the hard target. They're looking for the easy meat, right? So don't make yourself easy meat. Yeah. And the firearm for a concealed carrier, all it does is give you an extra alternative. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's your last option. It should always be your last option because if you pull that thing out and you have to use it, it's going to change your life. Okay, you're going to change. Somebody. Even if it's the cleanest shoot in the world, he's got family that's going to come after your wallet. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it has to be as clean as possible, and you have to make that judgment in your head: is this worth it? And can I retreat? Can I get out of here first? If you can't, then you have one more option. Just because you got a gun in your pocket doesn't mean you need to jump into every fray, or go looking for it.
So there's a couple of things that, basically, when you said there, I want to ask. One is, I get this question a lot. I know you have to get it. We both work for Smith Wesson, so it's easy to say, get the Smith Wesson, then you Smith Wesson Equalizer, because that's what I carry. But the question I get is, what should I buy for an everyday carry? Like so. How do you answer that when people ask you, what should I buy for an everyday carry?
Well, okay, what's your threat level? Number one. How much do you train? If you train all the time, then great. An auto pistol is good for you because it holds more rounds. They're compact, they're reliable. But if you get a click instead of a bang, there's a process you have to do in order to get that gun to get back up, right? So you have to practice your immediate action drills, using your tap, rack, bang, what do you want to call it? If you're not training, I suggest a J-frame revolver. And the new the Ultimate Carry in 32 H&R Magnum gives you 6 shots of 32 H&R Magnum. It's no joke. And there's no manual of arms that you have. The manual arms is you click instead of a bang. Pull the trigger again. Yeah. That's going to be your natural response anyway. Right. So that's the gun that I really suggest to a lot of people. If you're just going to buy a gun for protection and carry it, but you're not a gun person. Right. You're not training with it all the time. You're not going to have enough reps to make that automatic under stress. Carrying a revolver, it helps you a lot. And statistically, 6 shots, 5 or 6 shots is going to be plenty, for gunfights these days. The rule, 3 yards, 3 seconds, and 3 shots.
It's over.
So pretty much everything we sell holds more than 3 shots. So there's your option, right? And then we make nice light ones. I mean, I think the
airweight.
The Ultimate Carry with a titanium cylinder, I think is 13 ounces.
Yeah. So they make little holsters, that little leather sheaths that sit in your pocket.
Yep.
Very low profile.
And it's just so easy to grab on your way out the door.
Yes.
Boom, shove in your pocket, go. For women, you have it inside your purse. In a zipper compartment that you don't put anything in, no lipstick or anything that's going to get in there and, set the damn thing off. But you got a long double action trigger squeeze, and that's fairly safe. And normally if you're got some situational awareness going on, you're like, this doesn't seem right. So you unzip that pocket, stick your hand on it, and you can be holding onto that gun. You're not, presenting it. But if something happens, you can shoot. You got 6 shots from inside that purse because it's not ejecting brass. It's not going to jam. So you can use it, without even presenting it.
Inside a pocket.
Inside a pocket, yeah. So, I mean, maybe practice that or whatever, but figure out, how you're going to do this.
Yeah, use old jacket or old pocket.
Yeah, use an old jacket, shoot a couple times, see what happens, Everybody's like, oh, well, that's like assassin stuff. And you're like, well, I mean, if you've got your hand there and it's like, okay, this situation is getting bad, and it turns into a, guy pulls a knife on you, like, well, you can pull it out and say, hey, you sure you want to do that? Or if he's already coming at you, grab it and go. There's so many different situations out there that's potential. So
let's talk about so you talked about that's really talking about someone that's not going to train a lot. When you're training, SEAL candidates, you're talking about a program, lots of time on the range. They're forced to be there. But most civilians are going to take, even if they take a long course, 4 or 5 days is considered a long course. Most people would take a 1-day course. At what point of training do you have enough training to go from a J-frame to a semi-automatic?
Well, it's when you're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
When you can, we incorporate stress courses, right? So stress drills, time stress, competition stress, movement, things that cause your body to go, oh, okay, what the hell's going on here? And then you go as fast as you can in that stress situation, and then you see where the wheels fall off. And then, so it's not going to be your whole technique that has, issues, but you'll find the holes, where your draw sucked. So, hey, what are you going to do? Practice your draw. Yeah. Practice clearing your garment if you screw that up. Yeah. So
your immediate action drills. I love that you're saying this because most people go buy the coolest looking gun they can find, and they go to the range and they do basically a familiarization fire with it. And then because they were able to do that at the range, they think they're proficient in it.
Yep.
But stress is the scenario of really using a firearm in self-defense in a scenario. And so
that's the definition of a stressful situation, right?
So you have to be able to use it in that environment. And if you can't kind of induce that stress in your training, you shouldn't be carrying it.
Right. But you have to train first. You train, you get some reps in, and then you test it. and then you see where your holes are, and then you train again, and then get some reps in, and you test it again. So there's a little triangle that you run here, train, test, and learn, train, test is basically. So you're learning, you're training it, get the reps in, and then you test it, and then you just keep doing that circle.
Most people aren't going to be going to the range once a week.
Right, but the thing is, you don't really have to go to the range once a week, but if you can pull out that gun 20 minutes a week and just practice dry fire, and then once a quarter or whenever you can get to the range to actually shoot. But dry fire does a whole lot, all the other stuff that's not shooting, that supports the shooting. But if you're thinking about that stuff that you're doing, you're not thinking about the shot. When you can commit this stuff to what I call it muscle memory or whatever, it's those neural pathways that just kind of make things happen a lot faster once you've done them the same way over and over again. Right. That's where you need to be, right? Is once you're comfortable with that, then carrying is you can carry whatever you want, but I just want to make sure that you're comfortable with it,
and you're actually going to carry it.
Yeah,
because a lot of times people get something that they think is going to have the maximum impact, the most effective, but then they get something that's too bulky to carry. Their lifestyle might not be conducive to carrying it that way. So get something they're actually going to carry.
A friend of mine put it pretty good. It's like everybody talks 1911s, shoots a 9mm at the range, and carries a J-frame.
Yeah, okay, that's a pretty good way to put it. Yeah,
or you just practice with your damn J-frame, and get good with that. The manual arm's there for reloading all it, but I mean, honestly, reloading it's not one of the top priorities. If you get a click instead of a bang, you need to be able to fix that.
Yeah.
So even before you practice your speed reloads, you should be able to fix that thing. And just throwing dummy rounds in with your live ammo when you're at the range and you get that click, and then we don't teach. Oh, this is a type 1 or type 2 malfunction. Who gives a crap what it is? It's a malfunction. So there's what did the gun tell you? You got a click instead of a bang. That's an immediate action drill. If you get a dead trigger, you're either empty or you've got another malfunction. A failure to eject. Right. So there's another thing you have to do. It's a little more complex, right? But you have to recognize it right in that moment. It has to be like, oh, I got a dead trigger. So that keys automatically what you're going to do. Yeah. And it has to be automatic, because if you're thinking about what you're doing, you're not thinking about the situation that you're in. So the better you are at doing what you're doing, the more automatic that is. It just frees up all this bandwidth for your your cerebral cortex to go, oh, okay, yeah, well, how am I going to solve this problem?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad we both like J-frame, because to me, if you run out of 6 rounds of J-frame, you got a nice club that's in your hand. yeah, and
it's so convenient to carry.
Super convenient.
If I'm going downtown and I'm expecting trouble to show up in a crowd, I need more potential, like more ammo, right? But you just walking your dog in my neighborhood, easy day.
Yeah.
Or going to the grocery store, just living life. But if you put yourself in more of a potential hazardous situation, and that's just any city these days, is and if you've got loved ones with you that you want to defend, that's it's just, for me, I'm going to up my defensive posture a little bit.
Yeah. So you and I both come from the older generation of iron sights, front sight, and we've transitioned to optics. One of the partners I work with, and another phenomenal group, Vortex Optics, and I know they do a lot. Actually, they're supporting the grand opening.
Yeah.
So Seamus, all those guys at Vortex are just incredible. Lots of great optics out there, and everyone's transitioned to them. So for the everyday carry user, do you promote going fundamentals on iron sight still, or you're trying to get people towards optics?
Well, as my eyes get older, that red dot is so much nicer. To, when it comes to, once you already have it out, it makes those longer shots easier. Yeah. But in most situations, statistically, it's going to be a really close range. You're not going to be looking at the sights. You're going to be staring at the threat. So the hard target focus is now. So you're going to put your blurry sight picture up there and start squeezing. Okay, so you'll still have a good sight picture, but you're gonna have both your eyes are going to be open. FBI's done study on this. It's like under stress, both your eyes are open. So if you've never shot that way without stress, that's not the time to learn, right? So I've got a easy technique that can show people how to transition from one eye to two eyes, and it's pretty simple. All right. So you can just I can show you right now if you want.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So you take your thumb, just put it out here like this, okay, and focus on something that's farther away. And you'll see two ghost images of a thumb, right? Mm-hmm. So now your non-dominant eye, just squint it. Squint. Don't close it. Just squint it, okay? Because your non-dominant eye is that's going to make it fuzzy a little bit, right? So one of those ghost images just got a whole lot clearer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the one you're going to use. Okay. So now the reason I don't want you closing that other eye, is because now you have no information coming in. Right now you can still see me in your peripheral over here, right? But I'm a little blurry. Can you tell? You can see what the movement is and all that.
Yeah.
So once you practice that a few times, or get enough reps in, you won't have to even squint the eye. It's just right there. You're going to see that little heads-up display. Basically, you're focused on the threat, and then you put your little HUD right there that's lined up, and you can make accurate shots. Now, whether you have a red dot, red dot's going to help you make real critical shots, but at close range, don't even worry about it.
This is why what you're saying is so important as well with the fundamentals. Like your body mechanics are going to put you on target.
That's the big thing. The point shooting thing. I mean, we did a lot of force on force training when I was with Tactical Hive, and we would ask guys, that we had taught, hey, did you see your sights? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Because you're focused completely on that guy who could shoot you, right? Were they making good shots? Yeah. If their fundamentals were good, if they had, good point shooting technique, and then if they had to make a critical shot at long distance, usually long distance, you're not as stressed. Okay?
Right.
If the guy's farther away and he's not shooting at you, you're like, you can take that breath and make the shot, and that's where your red dot is really going to help you. It's just easier because you're just superimposing that red dot on your target and squeezing. You're not worried about, okay, where's my sight picture, where's my front sight, and all that. We do predictive versus reactive sight picture, right? So predictive, your body mechanics are basically, where that that sight picture is going to be, and you just bring it up, and you can take, your shot is going to recover. You're not looking for your sights. You're just trusting that you're predicting that you're going to be in the right spot to squeeze again, right? Reactive is you're actually seeing that sight picture, and it takes a fraction of a second to a second more. But for a critical shot on a small target or a faraway target, it's really effective. Yeah.
I've been in one pistol gunfight, and it was this close. And as you're talking, at that time I was shooting a lot. And it was iron sights. I was shooting a lot of front sight shooting, and I can remember just only, like I said, right now I'm picturing it, talking just the frame of the gun and the guy. Like it was just.
Yeah, you point shot him, which is okay. Yeah. That's what you do at that closer range.
Yeah, it was close. It was fast.
Yeah. If you're looking for your sights at 3 feet, you're wrong. You should be able to. Well, the grip that we teach, your support hand thumb is basically pointing right along parallel with the barrel. So if you just point your thumb and squeeze the trigger, out to about 10 yards, you're good for minute a man, right?
Yeah.
And more critical shots, your sights are going to be there. You should use the sights whenever you can, but if they ain't time, the quicker that you can get that shot off is better. A lot of times the guy who shoots first wins. Right.
Yeah.
You don't want to give that other guy a chance to hammer you, right?
Yeah. The difference between the shot being here or here is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
It's immaterial. If it's, if you think about for targets, I like to paper plates. They're cheap. You can get 1,000 of them for $10 or whatever, or even less, right? And that represents a good shot on a human, and you can put it at whatever distance that you want. Right. Yeah. So with a rifle out to 25 yards, you need to be able to put all the rounds in a paper plate. With a pistol, 10 to 15 yards, all arounds into a paper plate, and then let's say give your basic proficiency, okay? And then you start adding time stress and, things like that and other techniques. But if you just think about that paper plate, look at like, hey, if you put a plate on your chest, that's heart and lungs pretty much, right? And CNS, right? So, you can get there fairly quickly, but again, it's like even dry fire. You can put your target on the wall and just dry fire and punch it out with two eyes open. And then once you're there, now focus on the front sight. Where is it? And if it's not where it's supposed to be, leave it out there, adjust your grip until it is perfect, and then do it again. And then, that same thing. You're punching out there like you're point shooting, and then you focus back on that sight picture. And if it's lined up, that was good rep. Okay, so and then you can build speed from there. But smoothness is the most important thing. Speed will come. They'll slow is smooth is fast. Now, slow is smooth, and smooth builds fast. Right. Okay, that's the thing there. You like when you're using a timer. Shot timers are awesome, great tool, right? But people start racing the damn thing, so they're rushing. It's like no, you're using the tool wrong. Yeah. All right, the tool's there just to tell you how fast you went smoothly. So you got to go smooth, and then it'll tell you, okay, my draw is at 2.5 seconds, but it was smooth. Yeah. And you keep that up, and then the time's going to go down.
I'm so guilty of that. You put that pack timer out there.
Oh yeah.
And my shooting goes to crap because I start speaking my competitiveness.
Yeah, I can preach this all day long, right? But yeah, in the moment, you're like, oh yeah, and you have to consciously pull yourself back from that. Go, no, just go smooth. Yeah. And especially when you're training, when in competition, you get the adrenaline up, and you're like, here we go. But yeah, the more you can draw that back into just being just smooth, and that's what's going to show in your prep, in your training. If you trained cool and smooth, then you pour adrenaline on that, you just get faster. If you train jerky and rushing all the time, right, you pour adrenaline on that and you go straight down.
It's all over, it's gonna be all over.
You're
the place.
all over the place.
So the academy, this is not like something we just popped up. This is a long planned out work in progress.
Yeah.
How long have you been working on this?
Well, Smith Wesson approached me about this, like July last year. And, Mark Smith, good on him that he hired me when he did, even though it was way early.
Yeah.
But yeah, I made the move out here. And we were still looking for property. We didn't know it was going to be here. We were looking for some place where we could have a little more room. But after a while, it was like, nah. So we looked at the actual footprint that the headquarters is on, and they had flattened out another footprint of the headquarters in case they had to expand.
Because the acreage here is huge.
Oh yeah, we got a little room.
You got a little room, yeah.
Okay. Once Mark Smith decided that, okay, this is where it's going to be, that was like my first milestone. Yeah. And then we started working all the paperwork drills and all the stuff that you have to do that I don't know anything about. But I'm a trainer, right? Yeah. I have never built a range before. I've just used ranges that were already there. Never built an academy before, obviously. That was the challenge. That's what got me here, was like, I couldn't pass up the opportunity to make this happen and make this happen for as many people as I can. But yeah, once we decided that this was the place, because we'd looked at a lot of other places and None of them fit. Once it was the go, so last, let's see, it was middle of June. That was a field out there, and they just were starting to push some dirt around. And then now, here we are, September 11th, and you wouldn't know that was a field 3 months ago.
I guess the most important question I'd probably ask about the Academy, especially for those listening, is who is the Academy for?
So primarily, it's going to be for all Americans, and I don't know whether I'm going to be able to do this, but pretty much every class that I teach here.
Maybe a few Canadians if they're not too liberal to shoot, right?
Well, yeah.
Because there's some Canadian customers.
It's not up to me who shows up, right? Primarily, it's going to be law enforcement, and we have a shoot house that's going to be great for the local cops and whoever wants to come use it. But pretty much it's law enforcement first, because they need more training. Everybody needs, should agree that
most cops are going that we talked about like dry firing and shooting once a quarter. Most cops are pulling their gun out once a year.
Yeah,
which is
not enough.
Not enough.
So having a facility like this for them to come train and everybody, no matter how good you are, it's always good to have an objective eye watch you and go, oh hey, that you've got a hole there. This is probably the why you're having whatever issue you're having. So. With cops and then civilians that are interested in defending themselves and their family, with the best tool possible, right?
Yeah.
Because a good guy with a gun does stop a lot of crime. Okay, there's a lot of shootings. It doesn't get a lot of coverage because it gets kind of suppressed. And just the presence of a gun. You pull a gun and then you didn't have to shoot him.
It's a de-escalator.
He ran off. Okay, awesome. Is that going to get reported anywhere? No. And it happens hundreds of thousands of times a year.
Yeah.
So it's really heavily weighted towards us. That's just not known.
Well, yeah. I mean, just being in states that and locations that are allowed to carry gun, we have constitutional carry. Mm-hmm. The crime goes down because the deterrent of, hey, if I carjack this guy, I'm probably going to get shot.
Granny might be strapped, you don't know.
So it's a deterrent in itself. Right?
So when I first moved to Virginia in '95, that was the year that they relaxed their concealed carry stuff. So if you had a DD-214 or you're active military, you pay them $50, give them your fingerprints, and you got a concealed carry permit. And all the detractors like, oh my God, everybody's going to be carrying guns and, gunfights in the street. Well, of course, that didn't happen. But what did happen is violent crime went down precipitously the first year because now the bad guys didn't know whether Granny was strapped.
Right.
And it doesn't matter whether you were going to carry a gun or not. The bad guys didn't know whether you had one or not, so it made them think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, it goes in with empowering Americans to exercise the Second Amendment right, defend themselves, defend their homes and their families, and that in itself is a deterrent. So I love that this is open to everyone.
Hunting, putting meat on the table, man. That's an American pastime, that goes way back. And we make hunting guns now.
Yeah, well, 90% of what me and my family eat in our home is what I harvested, whether either caught or killed. And that's I just like know where my meat came from. Yeah. If I killed it, I know exactly where it came from. And I grew up that way, and I love living my life that way, and since I've been on with Smith Wesson, I shifted to gas guns for hunting, and now I'm a complete advocate for gas guns. Not that I don't like bolt action guns, and I hope Smith Wesson. I know they will be making a bolt action gun. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or not.
Well, we got a lever action.
Yeah, we got a lever action. When I've got some hunting with the lever action, but I mean the difference at 300 yards with a gas gun or a bolt action gun is not much. You're not much. I mean, maybe a half inch.
Yeah, but I mean, when you think about it, if you're hunting, you're shooting once.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. You don't have to worry about that follow-up shot normally.
You shouldn't.
You shouldn't have to, right? If you're ethically hunting.
Yeah.
I took a bear up in Canada earlier this year with the 4570 version of our 1854, and it performed flawlessly. It was awesome.
I seen Julie shoot Julie had a red dot, not a scoped optic, a red dot, and she had that 1854. I was sitting right next to her, and it was the 357, and she dropped a fallow deer at 150 yards with that thing with a red dot.
Yeah,
that's pretty
Good shot.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, and we got them in the 357, the 45-70. I think we're coming out with a 30-30 here shortly, and they're already in 45 long Colt and 44 Magnum. So there's, depending on what you're hunting, there we'll have a gun for you.
I like the Stealth Hunter too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we put suppressor on that bad boy. It's especially for banned states.
Yeah.
If you want to protect yourself, in a banned state where you having an AR, you have to ruin the damn thing. Yeah. But that lever action, it holds. It's got a big enough magazine that for home defense. Oh hell yeah!
So you're talking about this academy is for everyone, right? It's for law enforcement, individuals, departments, Americans that we want to empower.
Yep. Military as well. You got to put them in there if they want to come use it. Hey, come on out.
So what's that mean? Like when you say it's for them. Is there courses? Can they just come out and shoot? Like what's? Yeah,
well, no, we're not having anybody just walk in and shoot. You get a little bit of vetting. You're gonna have to sign up for a class, and then you'll come out and we'll have. Right now, the classes we're gonna start with intro to pistol, which is a half-day class. And that's if you've never. You're not comfortable with guns, come out to that one. We'll explain all the whistles and bells and how to use it. And then we'll have an array of Smith & Wesson products for you to shoot to kind of decide which one fits your hand and, all that. And that's half day because if you're new to firearms, that you're not learning anything after about 4 hours. You're just overwhelmed, which is fine. That's a good start. And then we'll have a pistol 1, 2, 3. So, and they're day-long courses. And each one builds on the last one. So you take a pistol 1 course, and that's fundamental as defensive pistol. Then you take that home and you practice, and then when you come back for pistol 2, application of defensive pistol, and then the last one, pistol 3, is advanced defensive pistol. So and each one builds on itself. So you learn how to use the gun at first, and then use how fixing malfunctions and more complex malfunctions and a little bit of moving, and then 3 is going to be how to use cover, and some more movement and some more malfunction drills, and then stress courses to show you what you own and what you don't, and we're going to also put in a qualification at the end. Okay, so you're going to have basic, intermediate, or advanced. And so basic means you can do it, you're just slow, you need work, right? It's all the same target, just, it'll be your times and your hits. And intermediate will be, you're on your way, but advanced is going to be hard to get because I want, when you get that certificate, it's going to go in a frame behind your desk because being an advanced Smith & Wesson pistol or carbine shooter, it means something.
Yeah.
It means you've having that quality. I mean, you can take a course and go, okay, what did you get out of it? Yeah. Well, you don't know.
Yeah, you already sucked me in. I'm like thinking I gotta get this advanced.
Yeah.
Right, sucked in.
Yeah. And it's all going to show. I can't give you the number of reps in that class, so you're going to have to take that. We're going to give you the tools that you can take at home and practice, even at dry fire or on the range, and you get smoother and faster and better. And then when you're ready, you come back for the next course, and then keep going at it.
For people coming out of state, are you going to have any kind of group like if they come in, like they just come in for one day, or is there going to be any moments or anything to schedule where they come in?
Well, we're still working on that. We get the place up and running. See how everything falls into place, and then we'll adjust from there.
The demand.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest problem, my biggest thing, is all the unknowns that people are asking me. Questions about. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what the demand's going to be. I don't know. Yeah. I'm here to train guys. My crystal ball is not telling me how many guys I'm going to train, how many of these classes we're going to need. Right. I mean, we're obviously going to have a lot more intro classes and 1 classes before we do a 2 or a 3, because you have to have enough guys that have done 1 to do a 2.
Same with the carbine, for pistol and carbine. Right?
Yeah, pistol and carbine. They mirror each other. The syllabus is very similar in what you're learning at each level.
So if you're listening, let's throw some demand on Coach by we'll have the the show notes below that people could go to the Academy link.
Yeah. That's not my part of this. I'm here to train. You know, I've got a team, which is awesome.
You don't seem like a web guy.
Oh God, no. God, I hate technology. It's a necessary evil, but oh my God, it hates me back. It really does. You know, I'm an old knuckle dragon frog man. So you put a computer. They laugh at me here because, you know, when I have to type, it's like it's painful. It's physically painful for someone who knows how to type watching me.
You stick to your strengths.
Yeah.
But so not everybody's going to get, you know, I mean, everybody comes up here will get to meet you, but I mean, you can't coach. You know, coach can't personally coach everybody. So who's the staff? Like, who else is coaching here?
Well, right now, I'm it. Okay, so
you're gonna get coach.
We're gonna bring on more guys, you know, eventually. But right now, it's like, well, we got to get the thing started first. And you know, I'm actually probably going to be interviewing for instructors here towards the end of this year, early next year. And then, you know, they're going to have to learn the curriculum, you know, be able to apply the qualification. You know, we'll have a number of different levels. We have assistant, RSO, and instructor. Yeah. But I've got to build them. They've, you know, I can't trust that somebody's like, oh yeah, I got all these NRA qualifications. Oh, great, come in, let's see what you got. But it's also a personality thing. Yeah, I don't want this turned into I was a Marine, so you know, nothing against Marines, but you know, whatever.
Yeah, but we can be a little arrogant.
Yeah, okay. And understand, you're not making Marines. You're not. Right. I'm not making SEALs. Right. Okay, I'm meeting you where you are and getting you as far as I can in that day.
Well, I've seen this in firearms, and I've seen this in jiu-jitsu. I've seen it all over. Like, just because you could do something good doesn't mean you could teach something good. And so I think it's, you know, super fair, and I'm happy to hear that you're going to be assessing if they could teach.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to be doing, teaching. Yeah.
And we'll have other courses. They're going to bring back the armorers course. We'll run through the academy. I'm looking at stop the bleed courses because, you know, if you're around guns, you might want to know how to plug a hole. You know. Yeah. You know,
at least have a medical kit out in the range. Oh my gosh! Like,
you can't have two losers in a gunfight, right? You know. And then like the fighting revolver guys, you know, bring those guys out to teach that. You know, anything specialized like that. I'm rifle and pistol. That's what I've been teaching for a long time.
You thinking any defensive tactics? Any defensive when I say defensive tactics, hands and guns?
You know, if we've got a place to do it, then right now the world's my oyster, right? I mean, you know, I can look and go, okay, yeah, we can take it this direction or that direction, but right now let's build this base, and then we'll expand from there and see. Start with the fundamentals, you know, and that's transferable to. I mean, you know, a lot of the fundamentals for pistol will transfer over to the carbine, and then. Yeah.
Any long gun, future long gun stuff?
We have a 300-yard baffled range out here. So the baffle's just so there's no blue sky because we're right under where the airport is. Yeah. So you know, we don't want stray rounds going up there. And a high-powered rifle out to 300 yards will be able to contain all the projectiles. But right now the course I'm planning on teaching is just rifle fundamentals: how to build a good solid body position in prone, kneeling, standing, and sitting. How to find your natural point of aim, you know, breathing and trigger squeeze and all the fundamentals that come into it, you know, that you have to learn because it's not really defensive. If you're shooting 300 yards, that's, you know, that's not a defensive application, but the fundamentals for that, you know, we can build on that and then take that and, you know, go hunting. And it's great because you're going to be able to hit what you're shooting at. Yeah. Right. And hitting what you shoot at that's what makes shooting fun. Otherwise, it's frustrating as hell. Right. Yeah. And if you want to, you know, be a long range target shooter, you want to go past 1,000 yards. We don't have 1,000-yard range. Right. But you're still going to be applying all the fundamentals that I teach you.
300.
In order to get out there.
I really love seeing this because as an ambassador for Smith Wesson, one of my personal goals is to see more people in the hunting space using Smith Wesson firearms. And have that training available for them is something I'm really, really encouraged to hear.
Yeah, and so one of the things we want to do is like, you know, for, you know, before deer season, when the season opens, come down and, you know, sign up for a class and come and sight in your gun, you know, and get some practice on your gun, know your holds at different distances. Because we have the max range is 300 yards on that range, but you can set up, life size, turkeys and deer or coyotes, whatever the hell you shot on. We'll put up steel at various ranges. So then you can learn how to use your reticle, and be a better, more effective shot doing that. And it's just a good idea. And a lot of people, oh yeah, it's sighted in. They shoot it 2 or 3 times and go, oh yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
And then you go out there and you miss your deer because he wasn't right at 60 yards or 80 yards, wherever you're shooting towards. A longer shot. You need to know where the hold is to get that, get them right where it needs to put them down quick.
So, obviously this is a life passion for you. Doing this at Smith Wesson has to be kind of a dream job.
Well, when people ask me, I was like, hey, well, is this the best job you ever had? I'm like, no, being an assaulter on a Gold Squadron was the best job you could have.
Of course, yeah.
But you can only do that for a certain amount of time.
You're never going to be that cool again. In case you didn't know.
I know. I used to have a really cool job, but and then being able to then pass along that to the SEAL candidates at Buds. That was number 2 because I was there, still part of the canoe club, still part of the solution. But this is a really good opportunity to now. For a long time, I was concentrating on making SEALs better, and now I want to be concentrating on making everybody better.
Yeah.
And this is a much more, there's more opportunity to affect a larger amount of people. Like I said, every class that I teach, I want to put on video and make it available for free.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have the money to come out and train, at least why don't you have good information? I did a lot of that when I was working for Tactical Hive.
Yeah, you guys had millions of views there.
Yeah, and we taught a lot of just fundamental stuff, and then it branched into gear history and stuff because everybody plate carrier, we've always had those. No, let me show you how we used to. Because I just happened to have all my gear when we got new gear. I just took my old gear off, threw it in a para bag, and went into the garage. So I had basically gear history from the late '80s. To the early 2000s.
Man, it changed fast.
Oh yeah, when it started going, and everybody makes fun of the airsofters. It's like, but honestly, I love those guys because there's not enough SEALs and SWAT teams to make that viable, right? That profitable. So you've got a bunch of people out there buying it and improving it. Just it's a game. It's airsoft, but they spend a lot of money. And so a lot of companies, that's made it profitable for them because, making it just for little niche guys like us, it wasn't good. I think that's about the time that it really, blossomed. Before you make friends with your parachute rigger because he would sew all your stuff. Oh yeah, I want this. It costs you a lot of beer, man. But
what is it you're most excited about with the future of the Academy?
Oh man, there's so much. Right now, my 5-meter target is just getting the place open and getting the routine in and figuring it out. But we've got plans for like a lodge that we're going to put up there, and I want to put sporting clays and skeet and stuff like that. There's room. It's just I don't know whether it's going to fly or not. Now the cops, we're definitely going to put up a breaching facade for the so they can practice breaching. I want to put we use the HESCOs as all our bullet stops, and I'd like to put in a HESCO maze, shooting maze, so you can set up we used to do old Donga courses, right? When the target exposes itself, you shoot it, right? And just working through and have all those essential elements, center fed, corner fed, right, corner fed, left, hallways and all that, and be able to do that live fire. We built the shoot house is a sim shoot house, and there's no catwalk. But there'll be cameras, so it makes your debriefs that much more pointed, right?
Yeah,
and you can
looking at a video of you.
You can drink beers and look at them and go, oh yeah, you screwed up there, and you can't say, oh, that wasn't me, or no, and it's a good training tool. And that's mainly focused for cops. And when we built it with all those essential elements, hallways with a lot of doors, inward opening, outward opening, center fed, corner fed, right, corner fed, left, big rooms, adjoining rooms, things like that. So all those, it's not built like an actual structure, but it's built with all those elements that you're going to find in the wild,
right.
And you'll be able to rehearse, how you're going to navigate that and how you're going to communicate and all these things. And I think we've got a good floor plan to start with, and then as things get, I've already been in this house and I've come from this way and that way. I know where the stairs are and I know this door does this. Now, next time you come up, it's going to be different. Yeah. So you're always keeping it fresh. So you're never going to see the same situation twice.
Yeah. Game planning.
Combat doesn't happen that way. Right?
You get a game, everything. And So, I mean, I know you said you're just looking at kind of lamp to your feet, what's next, but just looking way forward, do you imagine ever having a Smith & Wesson training team that would go actually to like other SWAT teams, police departments around the country?
Yeah, that's in the mobile training team thing. I floated that idea early on. So let's get this done here, and then I can bring guys in, train them, and they don't have to move to Tennessee. Although Tennessee's a really nice place. Yeah, and it's really easy to move here. Honestly, I moved from San Diego, and I love it here. It's a lot greener than San Diego. But you wouldn't have to move a guy here and be here permanently. But if I have a large stable of guys that I know can teach around the country, then if a police chief, his guns wore out, and do I get the old guns or do I get Smith & Wessons? And if we can provide training as well with that, and just send, if you got 200 officers, you're not going to send them all here to Tennessee to learn. That's not cost effective. But if I can get 2 or 3 guys that I know can, teach the curriculum and, apply the qualification at the end, they can go out and use the local range and, do a 2-3 day course or whatever it is, and get them up to speed. But it's finding the right people that have the right demeanor. There's a lot of what passes for instruction is, everybody's like, fundamentals. Here's some cool drills. And everybody focuses on the drills and not on, actually getting in there and diving down deep into why is your grip, why you keep doing this? Well, your grip's screwed up. So let's fix your grip. And it's not sexy.
No,
but
it works.
It's a whole lot more fun.
And it works when it counts.
Yeah. It's more fun and more effective to actually hit what you're shooting at, right? And that boils down to the fundamentals and your application of it.
I would say not missing is sexy.
Yeah.
Kind of wrap it up with this. The show's the Resilience Show. We talk about, resiliency. I know we didn't even dive into your military experience. You probably have so many stories you could share on your own path to resiliency, but the audience listening, oftentimes they tune in to hear what guys like you would have to say about lessons in resiliency. And, the show, we talk about different types of mental resiliency, physical resiliency through people's health, their social circles they're with, their spiritual journeys. What wisdom would you have to pass on to the audience on just being resilient in today's world?
Do something hard every day. Okay. I start my day with 20 minutes of meditation, and then I do a 3-minute cold plunge, and it sucks every time. It sucks. Yeah. I try to talk myself out of it all the time, but by actually forcing myself to do this, the worst part of my day is over. Like at the very beginning, right? Yeah. The rest of the day is cake after this, right? And making the hard decisions. If there's an easy way to do something or a hard way, always look don't be scared of the hard. Put yourself out, test yourself, see what you can do. Push that envelope a little bit. It doesn't have to be a lot, and for every individual, it's going to be a little different. What you consider hard and what I consider hard and what they consider hard is all going to be different. But it's all in your mentality, and do that hard thing, the thing you don't want to do. Like going to the gym. What's the hardest part of going to the gym? Going to the gym.
Just going
Once
there,
you're there, if you're there for 5 minutes or 2 hours, just get to the gym and I'm just going to do this today. All right, cool. And then you're like, I feel pretty good. So you do a little bit more, but you wouldn't have done any of that if you didn't get to the gym, right? Yeah. So that's that push past that the hard, right?
Yeah. Some wise words. Do something hard every day. I like cold plunges. Everybody talks about the different benefits and stuff like that. One of the biggest benefits for me is the mental aspect of getting myself in there.
Yeah. Oh,
I feel better. I have a lot of other benefits, but just doing it for me, it's like I'm the same way. What temperature?
I'm just at 50 degrees.
Yeah, that's right. I keep it between 45 and 50. I think it's a big factor of overkill there. In the beginning, I was like, the colder it is, the better it's going to be. And then more research I read, it's like, but sub 50 is all you need.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think I've got it set at 48, and by the time I get out, it's 50 degrees because I warm it up. I've just got a bathtub with a chiller that recycles, and hop in that every morning, and I hate it.
It wakes you up.
Oh, yeah. After it's over, it feels great.
Yeah,
but
honestly,
right before you get in, because I was just in a warm bed, you jump in that like, God.
It doesn't matter if it's hot outside or cold outside.
It sucks anyway.
Yeah, it sucks
it doesn't even feel cold at first. It stings more than anything else. But it's what happens afterwards. You get the endorphin rush and just the fact that that serotonin pump that you get because you did something hard.
Well, I mean, I didn't do it today, but like one of my favorite things to do before I run a podcast is to do my plunge before, because for a couple hours after, I just feel mentally sharp. I feel like in the right mindset to do it. I just feel like on. And I wish traveling and speaking, I could bring a cold plunge with me and do it right before I speak, because that would be I'd probably be at my best.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hotels have cold showers, and that sucks too.
Ice machines.
Yeah, actually,
I don't know. I don't know if the shower works. You know Lou Rivera, right? I think we both know Lou Rivera. He's a team guy. Anyways, he's a good friend of mine, and he's big on the shower. I'm like, I don't know.
I mean, it's something. It's not nothing. But it's not going to be a 48 degree cold plunge, but it's going to suck.
Yeah,
I mean, cold showers suck. Sorry.
Terrible.
And so it doesn't suck as much. Maybe maybe you're not going to get all the benefits that colder water would have got you, but at least it's something.
Yeah. Well, man, I really appreciate doing this. I know I probably picked the worst time in the world to do this, because the grand opening's like ongoing right now. The event's tomorrow. Yeah. So I really appreciate you taking the time doing this, and I 100% mean it when I say, Mark and Kyle couldn't have picked a better guy to lead this up, and it makes me super proud, more proud to be part of Smith & Wesson, to have you on board, and I am personally going to be a student of the academy. I'm going to jump in, even as an ambassador. I'm jumping in. I want that advanced certificate.
Yeah, come on down.
I want to earn it.
Yeah, or you're gonna. There's only one way to get it.
Yep.
You got to earn it.
Yep, I will. Thanks, brother.
Hey, anytime. Thanks you.
Absolutely, guys. We're gonna have a lot of Patreon content on this. The trip we're gonna have here, the team, Mindy and the team are gonna be filming some stuff. We're gonna film some of the stuff with Coach tomorrow. And at the academy, so you get to see all the behind-the-scenes stuff. And I'm also going to be talking to Mark Smith, so stay tuned for that. Mark Smith, the CEO of Smith & Wesson, so stay tuned for that content as well. If you're not already done so, follow our Patreon, join our Patreon, be part of the family. It's the best way you can support us. For this episode, like it, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Stay resilient. Hey, what's up, Resilient family? I am so grateful for each of you who tune in every week to hear our episodes. We have such incredible guests and topics that I am passionate about, our team's passionate about, and we could not do it without you. So we're thankful for you. We love you. We appreciate you locking arms with us to be more informed, to become a more resilient community. And I want to invite you to become a tighter part of that community by joining us on Patreon. If you go to our show notes below, you can click the link and get dialed into our Patreon and get extra content weekly. You can join for $15 a month and get behind-the-scenes footage, get closer access to me. I have monthly Zooms that I'll be doing with some members of the community. And so we'd love to get more involved. Again, go below in the show notes and click the link and join today.